Breakthrough doesn't happen by accident, it happens by decision. Welcome to Breakthrough Nation, the podcast where faith meets mindset, purpose meets action, and ordinary people discover extraordinary strength. This is a space for real conversations, honest growth, and practical wisdom for life, leadership, and transformation. If you're tired of being stuck, if you're ready to grow, heal, and move forward, you're in the right place. This is Breakthrough Nation. Let's begin.
Are you searching for a speaker who understands the intersection of faith and recovery? Wayne Shemwell's journey is one of redemption, healing, and unshakable purpose. With a background in addiction and 15 years in recovery and a heart rooted in ministry, Wayne speaks to the soul of every audience. He brings real stories, real struggle, real hope. From trauma recovery to spiritual transformation, his message breaks barriers and builds bridges. Wayne's not just a speaker, he's a vessel of restoration, shaped by experience and driven by a divine calling. Whether it's a recovery conference or a faith-based event, his presence will ignite reflection, compassion, and change. If your event needs more than just motivation, if it needs breakthrough, it needs Wayne Shemwell.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Breakthrough Nation podcast. I am your host, Minister Wayne Shemwell, and today I am truly excited because it's rare that you meet someone who has walked the same path that you did, walked the same streets that you did in the insanity of addiction, and end up working together, coming together, working on projects and different things that we've been associated with here. And anyway, I'm stumbling with my speech here because I'm so excited to get this lady on. This is Amy Spain-Duncan. And Amy, let me welcome you to Breakthrough Nation.
Hey, hi. So good to be here, Wayne. It's so good to be here with you. You look great.
So do you, my friend. So do you.
And everything. Yeah.
Well, as I was saying in the opening there, I know there were a lot of people that I crossed paths with when I was in the insanity, but very few of them make it to where we are today. And I think that God has a purpose for us. I truly believe that we came together for a reason. Look at what happened. We were on an airplane together. I just said, God is working out something. He's trying to put something together here. And I just love what you're doing. But first, before we get into what you're doing, let's get into what you did.
Yeah.
And a little bit about Amy before we got all cleaned up and into the productive members of society. So just go ahead and just go ahead. I know you can go with it, like
no, I'm happy to do it. I tell you, my past has become one of my greatest assets, and so I'm never shy away from sharing that experience, especially if it can help somebody or give somebody hope, because that's essentially what happened for me. Is after years in in addiction and in alcoholism, I lost hope. I lost my entire identity as a human being, lost any self-esteem, any dignity, any uh, message that there was a different life that I could live. And so if telling folks, hey, I was there and now I'm not, is helpful, I'm happy to do that. But and I always have to be very mindful when I talk about this, because this is not how I was raised. And it kind of speaks to the fact that this can happen to anyone, right? Their addiction has no prejudice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. Rich, poor, white, black, this end of town, that end of town, education, it does not care. It just will affect any of us. We're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we do know links addiction is our inability to deal with life on life's terms, right? So this inability to process and regulate emotion, the sense of entitlement, that I kind of came in with, that the world owed me something and I wasn't getting what I wanted from people and places and things. And so this just upset little Amy so bad, she had to escape into a bottle
Right.
instead of dealing with life, you know.
Hmm.
And to that end, I was given all the tools to be successful growing up. I'm actually this I'm sitting in my grandmother's house. I bought the house from the estate after my grandmother died. And in this home, we were taught how to be successful, how to manage emotions, how to go to work, how to pay bills, all of those things. There was what I've come to know was a spiritual malady in me that had to be addressed for me to be comfortable and be successful in this life. And I think it's a fail switch, like it's the kryptonite, right? Because it demands a relationship with God.
Hmm.
It's the only solution that's going to address it. I can't think my way out of it, wish my way out of it, any of those things, buy my way out of it. Uh, it's a fail safe, right? So when I come to this earth, God's like, she's going to need me, and I need her to know she's going to need me. And so here is this thing that demands for my survival that I enter this relationship with God.
Let me ask you this, Amy. I mean, I know when I'm right now. I'm about to finish, and probably in March. After 15 years, I finally got to the point where I could actually write this book called "From Crack to Christ,"
Yeah.
and because it was just been so painful, to relive some of that. I've gone through some spots where I've actually had to call my sponsor, and I don't really reach out to my sponsor that much anymore, but I had to reach out to him a couple of times because uh, reliving those moments became so real for me. I actually felt like I was getting high again at one time, and I had to reach. And he laughed at me. He said, "Well, that's a free one.
Yeah.
It didn't cost you anything."
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at in a roundabout way was, I remember the first time, and I remember the last time, and I wonder if you do. If those are pivotal points in your life and in your recovery.
Yeah. So, especially when it comes to cocaine, so none of us really start on cocaine. So for me, it behaviors, dishonesty, expectations, entitlement, these kind of attitudes and behaviors that I carried in my life, and they coexisted with I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. This thing that goes on in our psyche, and so for me, getting a hold of marijuana and alcohol ah, quiets the noise. It made me feel comfortable. I always think there's no coincidence, right? That alcohol is called spirits, and I have this spiritual malady, right? So I pour these spirits in, and
Right.
suddenly the spiritual malady appears to have straightened out for a period of time.
Hmm.
Definitely, just this. Hedonistic
Oh.
approach to life that I carried
Woo.
with me, right?
Preach, girl, preach.
I ended up just if it felt good, I wanted it. If it felt good, I needed it. If it felt good, right? And this led me further into darkness and away from light. Began early on, just damaging relationships, not with my parents, with my siblings, with my cousins, with my family, right? It starts here and ripples out. And so as I kind of succumb to this world of hedonism and drugs and alcohol, the ripples of that reach outward, and they begin to affect my relationships, my ability my relationship with money. What about that? What about our
Ooh.
relationship with finance?
Yes.
Uh, Everything just got convoluted and confused. I do remember the last time I used, and it didn't work. Like it had stopped working. That elusive thing, this place of magic where everything would be okay, it was eluding me. It was evading. I could not get there. I couldn't find the right combination of alcohol and cocaine and marijuana to get to the spot. The sweet spot was gone.
Hmm.
And I remember being so sad. Like, holy crap, this doesn't work anymore. Now what? So I definitely remember my last night wasn't a bad. I've had really bad nights on the streets. I've had traumatic and awful and things that should have made somebody quit happen, and I never quit. And that was a Friday night, March 5th. It wasn't a particularly bad night, uh, but March the 6th, I went to bed because nothing was working, or passed out. And when I woke up on March 6th, something had shifted. I knew something this it had to change.
Mhm.
And I actually, my father took me to a local homeless shelter here in Louisville, the Women's Healing Place, and this is before Medicaid, before uh, uh, you know insurance for everybody. So if you didn't have insurance, there was no treatment options. And thank God for that, because I ended up right where I was supposed to be, which was at the Women's Healing Place, and began this journey in 2010 towards the light and away from the darkness.
Yeah, that's right. We're both a member of that 2010 club.
Yes.
That's I remember my last night, and I was writing about it. I was sitting in the crack house, and I had a some on the pipe, and had one in my hand, and there was a voice that just said, you're done.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm having one of those paranoid delusions, and it said, you're done. And I remember putting it down and going. I was in a neighborhood where we used to, around Victory Park, that
Yeah.
area. And I remember going out getting out of the house and going back to an alley and just crying because that emptiness, that spot that I was, like you said, I was trying to fill, it just wasn't working anymore. It wasn't, like you said. And I just look back at all the devastation that had occurred in my life. I mean, can you relate to that? I mean, when you
Yeah.
as you get into treatment and you start to really reveal, realize what you've done. And there's some bridges that I've burned that aren't being, that never will be rebuilt. I got some cousins that won't even speak to me, won't take my phone calls and whatnot. And I understand. I understand. I hurt them deeply. But I guess the thing that when you did your first, and I've been wanting to ask you this question. When you did your first fourth step, what was that like for you?
Um, my first fourth step was it was actually devastating to me. It really I had never considered I only considered how you affect me.
Mm-hmm.
That is as far as my ego had ever allowed me to venture, right? Is how wronged I had been, how unjustly I had been treated, the bad lucks and bad breaks and bad circumstances of little Amy, right? The sense of entitlement that the world owed me something and didn't deliver, right? And in that fourth step, we really look at we do what happened, who, what, the principles and institutions, what happened, and how
Mm-hmm.
I was affected. And in 12-step recovery, they tell us that's as far as most of us got, and that's as far as I got. I had stopped there, but we have this next part, and this is really for me the critical part of the fourth step. What we say is we turned back to our list. So some people call this the fourth column. I've
Mm-hmm.
heard it called the compassion column,
Okay.
because in this column, what they did, and how it affected me stops mattering. There's a page and a half in our literature where we go into prayer and we go into consideration, and we really try to look at this person, place, or institution in a different way.
Right.
What if we're alike? What if I'm spiritually sick and they're spiritually sick too?
Mm-hmm.
What if we're all just human beings trying to do our best? And it creates a place where for grace. And if there's grace for you, that means there's grace for me. And so
Mm-hmm.
this healing can kind of start to occur, and this realization that I'll never change them. I can only change me. And how desperately do I want to change? And so the focus shifts.
You know, and we're gonna have to take a break here, but that is something that happened to me also, Amy. I mean, I think there's a book I've written now, an ebook called EQ, emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I think I woke up to was one of those aha moments was, first of all, I've got to understand where my part in it. You know, I mean, the lack of responsibility, us taking responsibility was a big part of my addiction. Now, it's always
Hmm.
what you did, it's your fault. You did this, you did that, and then all, and just the blame game. But we'll talk about more of that, and then what you're doing on the other side. I got to pay some bills now. I do have a few people that are underwriting this project. I'm not getting rich, but I'm not going broke. So we'll take a little break here, and I'll be back with Amy Spain-Duncan, my dear friend and awesome, awesome guest. So we'll be right back.
Ready to grow stronger in your faith and your life. Welcome to Wayne Shemwell Ministries Digital Library, your one-stop destination for powerful ebooks, life-changing devotionals, and practical tools to help you break through every obstacle. Whether you are overcoming addiction, building your mindset, or deepening your walk with God, the resources you need are just one click away. Visit payhip.com Wayne Shemwell Ministries today and start your breakthrough journey. Wayne Shemwell Ministries, empowering you to live with purpose. On purpose.
Feeling snacky? Craving flavor with attitude? Meet Tammy's Texas Tornado, where each jar packs savory, spicy, sassy, from the smooth kick of sassy salsa to the bold punch of screamin' salsa and the mellow heat of sissy salsa. Your chips, tacos, and taste buds will never be the same. Head to Tammy'sTexasTornado.com today and grab your jar of Tornado Twisted flavor. Sign up for exclusive deals and spice up your inbox while you're there. Tammy's Texas Tornado. Savory, spicy, sassy. Stir up some flavor today.
At Eternal LLC Real Estate Services, we believe our character is our reputation. That's why we put people first in everything that we do. We are committed to helping you find a home that is not just a roof over your head, but a sanctuary that you can retreat to after a long day at work. We believe that everyone deserves the chance to achieve their dreams, whether that's buying their first home or starting a business. We're also proud to support our community through charitable initiatives because we believe in ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Hi, my name is Ronielle Smith, owner of Black Coffee Cafe. Black Coffee is my labor of love. It was birthed out of the need for the community to have a space for coffee, culture, and business. It's a place for community leaders and members to come and facilitate change, network, and exchange ideas to help build a stronger, more thriving community. We offer premium coffee from the beautiful continent of Africa, teas, and a light lunch menu. We look forward to welcoming you at Black Coffee Cafe.
All right, welcome back with this lively discussion with my dear friend, Amy Spain-Duncan. And Amy, we are back. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And as I said, as we closed out, you were talking about, a lot of the things and the conditions and the emotional aspect of addiction, and how, we don't really want to look at others. There's no empathy there at all. I heard somebody say one time that, the best thing about getting clean is you get your feelings back. The worst thing about getting clean is you get your feelings back.
Yeah.
So let's look at, you've talked about, the past, and what that was. But as I tell people all the time, I don't live there anymore.
Right.
You can't hurt me with that anymore, because I will willingly admit all the dirt I've done. But all that made me who I am today. And I stand proudly realizing that God brought me out of that. And my spiritual awakening made me realize that it was Jesus that brought me through this. I looked at the steps and I saw all the Bible in those steps. And that was my awakening. It was just like, a bright light coming on in my life. And since then, I've been, blessed after blessing after blessing after blessing. Even in the insanity, I say, okay, God, what are you trying to show me? What do I need to learn from this experience? And people think I'm crazy, but I've gotten to that point. But don't get me wrong, I don't do it all the time. I'm not walking on water yet, but I'm in a different place than I was, where my emotions control everything. At the beginning, at the beginning of my sobriety, I spent more time crying than I can, really, than I ever did in life. I mean, I spent months before I had my emotions under control, where I could have a decent conversation with someone. But now I'm able to look at things from a different perspective. And one of the things that I think God has truly blessed me with is you. And I'm gonna tell you why. Then I'll let you talk, because I'm getting ready to testify here. Because I knew you
Yeah.
and your husband in that insanity. And here we are. And I know God is real. There's a song, because God is real. And every time I hear that song, I do cry, because I know what he's done in my life and how real he has been in my life. So let's go ahead and let me get off this soapbox. And you're the guest. Let me ask you about, moving forward, where you are now, what the things that you're doing now. Because, one of the things I talked to you about was getting you on a speakers bureau, speakers tour, so you get paid for some of the stuff that you do, because your lessons are invaluable. But go ahead and let's talk about Amy today.
Well, I tell you, life, that I love what you said about that emotional turmoil in the beginning, because that's so true. But um, as we grow, as we develop, as we gain deeper understanding, th- I'm like you. It's how can I serve you? That's the goal each day. How can I serve you? What can I do? Because I have this debt, right, that needs to be paid. And I don't believe that God saves us for us. He saves us
Mm-hmm.
to help the next person. And so a lot of my life is kind of based on that, being reestablished as in my rightful place as mother. Right. And there's a time if you're a parent, you feel undeserving and unworthy of that
Ooh,
assignment,
yes.
and you run from it. But the truth is, Amy in and of herself is not going to probably be the best mom or anybody you want around. But with God, right, with that connection, with that discernment, with that seeking and looking and evolving, now you have something, wisdom and gentleness and love to pass down to you, to generations beneath you, and around you. So just like I was talking about the ripple effect of my drug addiction and alcoholism, there's a ripple effect to our recovery as well. So
Mm-hmm.
once I start getting better and start implementing spiritual principles, start praying, start connecting, start doing acts of service, this ripples out. It changes me and the people around me. That's the beautiful thing about it. So what I did, I went back to school
Okay.
about 3 years sober and got a bachelor's degree in nursing. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse all my life, but I didn't have that bachelor's degree, and I had always said I wanted it, and I thought, get it. It's something you wanted, and I did. And I started working at the hospitals. And what I was seeing at the hospital is a lot of misunderstanding about addiction. Doctors, they have a brief, they're
Yes.
not specialists, right? You don't go to the belly doctor for your heart. You don't go to the neurologist for your asthma. And these guys, there's not a lot of addictionologists or physicians who specialize in that. And where we end up a lot of times is hospitals. So a lack of education, a lack of protocol, a lack of understanding, a lot of stigma. And that can result in poor treatment or dismissive treatment for legitimate concerns of alcoholics and addicts. So I started advocating. I just started kind of trying to teach. I love to teach, and that led into this and this and this. And it's crazy, like we were talking about, how things just come together. Fast forward, there's a string of connections and intersections that brought me to a place where I was working as a director of nursing at a treatment center, something I never thought I would do, but there I was. And that leads me into policy and procedure and
Hmm.
learning all that. I mean, I'm like, I laugh and tell God, I don't know why I'm doing this. And why did you bring me here? But you learn and you do. And then about 2 years ago, we started a consulting firm where we help folks that want to go into treatment business do it correctly, because that's a whole other soapbox I can get on. But it should be done correctly. That's to protect the employees, the owners, and the clients. Everything, there's a proper way to do these things, and learning that and being able to teach that, implement that, and hold that gold standard is critical in this as we try to treat alcoholism and drug addiction as an epidemic in our nation. So many new things coming out all the time. So you have to kind of stay on top. You were saying about the sound waves that we're using with
Mhm.
autistic adults and
Right.
children. Like there's so many. I love being alive during this period of history because there's so much happening and coming out and levels of understanding that we get to kind of implement and use and move forward things. And then I also went to my hometown as kind of an amends to my little rural community in Indiana where I'd wreaked havoc. And I
Mhm.
opened an intensive outpatient program. It's a small rural intensive outpatient. And like you, not getting rich, but it's paying some bills. And we're trying to help people in that community. And the backside of that is for me to repair the reputation I destroyed in my drinking and alcoholism.
Wow, that is that is
A
a
lot.
that's a lot. Yeah, and you're also a sought after speaker. I
I,
know that because you've gone all around the world speaking
I do.
about your journey and the things that have occurred to bring you to who you are today.
Yeah.
Is that so? Give us a little bit about
So,
that.
and I love doing that. I love do that. It's a lot of travel, but I love travel. I get to meet very interesting people, but primarily what I want to do and what I try to do is get people excited and hopeful, right? Because these, as emotionally driven people, I need to know that hope is possible. I can overcome. Everybody likes a happy ending, right? So,
Mhm.
you want to take them through. I always say God's a show off. So
Right.
if somebody who's doing well does better, that we're not really impressed. But if you take someone off the streets in utter hopelessness and despair,
Hmm.
and through a series of action and over time and this healing that occurs, you bring them to a place of success and balance and happiness and joy and restored to their rightful place as mothers or fathers in society, the work you do, that's impressive. Right. And that's the deal. You want to tell that story so that people are inspired and hopeful. And interesting thing when I was I had a spiritual experience similar to yours, Wayne.
Hmm.
But what I heard afterwards was tell someone what I did.
Oh, okay.
And what I've done since that time is just kind of tell people that uh, there's another way, there's another option, there's this path to life and abundance that you don't want to pass up on.
Yes. You know, you made me think of, over the course of these 15 years, I think about the first five, it was all about, getting myself together. It really was. And the thing that you hit on also was about being a parent. Now I'm Wayne's primary caregiver, basically. I'm with him. My wife, she's a physician. She's got a lot of stuff going on. So I can be there, but that's okay. I can be there for him, because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about, he said, ain't it good to answer the phone?
Yes.
And I said, yeah, man, my daughter, she actually says that she lives in Dallas now. She says, Dad, I'm so glad that you're not doing what you used to do. I said, baby girl, me too. Because that phone would ring, Amy, and I'd be doing what I was doing. And, that would be like scared to death, like
Yeah.
that, like they're going to see me through the phone or something. But being able to show up, be responsible, that is a gift from God. And to share that, you are so right about being a servant. I found in my journey is that God can't really use you until you get out of the way.
Yeah.
And the way that we get out of the way is by being of service to other people. Then God can benefit us. He can bless us because we're being a blessing. And that's why he brought us out. You're right.
Yeah.
Not so that we could. Love is the only gift that you can't use properly if you try to keep it.
Right.
We have to give it away.
Yeah.
We have to share it. And that's why, I'm so glad that you were able to come on today and spread a little love. Uh, I don't think this is going to be the last time I talk to you because this
I
was
hope
good.
not. I
This
hope
was
not.
this was good because I need to,
Yeah.
need to talk about your IOP and the things that
Yes.
you're doing there, and how the success rates and all the things that are going on in the recovery community, because there's a lot of changes that are occurring. And when we finish this today, I want you to hold on for a bit because I want to talk to you about something that's been on my heart. And hopefully, you can give me some pointers on that. But any last words you want to leave, impart with our audience?
Excuse me. Wayne, I love what you're doing here, and I hope that people are encouraged. If it's not you, but a loved one, be encouraged. People do change. God does work. There are miracles. I believe in the power of prayer, and I also believe that. Excuse me.
Mhm.
That we can be well, spiritually well, regardless of the circumstances around us. So if you're a person who is being directly or indirectly affected by alcoholism or addiction in someone else, you can still find joy. You can still find meaning in your own life. I know this thing is all consuming, but I encourage you to go to one of the Al-Anons or Nar-Anons or church or family services. And be supported yourself, because we tend to make this all about the guy that's kind of making the most noise. But this ripple effect that addiction and alcoholism has on the people around it should not be discounted, and they deserve our love, attention, and support just as much as the sufferer.
Amen. Amen. Well spoken. As it is. It is not a solo disease. It affects everybody around you. It's so true. Well, Amy, I really do want to thank you. This has been so delightful. And I really thank God for you and the work that you're doing. Thank the God that you have come into my life at this particular time. And I look forward to, as they said at the end of Casablanca, this is the beginning of a great friendship.
Yay.
All right. Thank you so much. God bless.
Are you searching for a speaker who understands the intersection of faith and recovery? Wayne Shemwell's journey is one of redemption, healing, and unshakable purpose. With a background in addiction and 15 years in recovery and a heart rooted in ministry, Wayne speaks to the soul of every audience. He brings real stories, real struggle, real hope. From trauma recovery to spiritual transformation, his message breaks barriers and builds bridges. Wayne's not just a speaker, he's a vessel of restoration, shaped by experience and driven by a divine calling. Whether it's a recovery conference or a faith-based event, his presence will ignite reflection, compassion, and change. If your event needs more than just motivation, if it needs breakthrough, it needs Wayne Shemwell.
If something we said today stirred you, challenged you, or pushed you to think differently, don't let it stop here. Breakthrough doesn't happen because you listen to a podcast. Breakthrough happens when you make a decision to grow, a decision to confront what's been holding you back, a decision to stop surviving and start building. That's what Breakthrough Nation is about. It's about men and women who refuse to stay stuck, people who understand that pain can produce purpose, people who are ready to do the work. If today's conversation helped you, share it. Send it to someone who needs it. Tag someone who's ready for their next level. And if you're serious about transformation, go deeper. Check out the resources, grab one of the books, join the community, take the course, invest in your growth, because here's what I know. You can't live a breakthrough life with a breakdown mindset. This is Wayne Shemwell, and this is Breakthrough Nation. We don't just talk about change, we build it. I'll see you next week.